Please welcome to the stage your next Lieutenant Governor, Rob McCulley.
Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. How are we doing tonight? Well, I'm sure you may have already seen the news. The AP has called it in what is now one of the most historically dominant primary wins that we've seen in modern history in the state of Ohio. And it's a reflection of a variety of things. Number one, it's a reflection of the quality of candidate we have at the top of the ticket. And Vivek Ramaswamy. But number two, it shows that our Republican Party is united behind our message of lower costs, bigger paychecks, and better schools. They're united behind electing a businessman, not a bureaucrat. They're united behind electing a creator, not a quitter. Somebody who appreciates success, not somebody who villainizes it, and somebody who's a visionary. They're united behind electing a family man as our next governor. And as excited as I am to introduce to all of you Ohio's next governor, that honor tonight, I can tell you as a husband myself, we couldn't do this without our families. We couldn't do this without our spouses. I'd like to shout out my wife, Denise, who's here with us tonight. But the honor of introducing the next governor of the state of Ohio belongs to the next First Lady of the state of Ohio, Dr. Apurva Ramaswamy.
This is so amazing. Wow, what a special week for the Ramaswamy family. As some of you may know, our little girl turned 3 months old yesterday. So, and today I get to say that my husband is the Republican nominee for governor in our wonderful state. So we are so grateful to all of you in this room and everyone who has voted today and in the past few weeks. And I think I had someone who maybe wanted to say something. Do you want to say something? Okay, come on up. Come on up. All right. Come on up. All right, you ready?
OH.
So I can't think of a better introduction than that for my husband and the future governor of our amazing state, the best one that we have yet to have. Thank you so much. Vivek Ramaswamy.
This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made.
Well, thank you guys. It is an honor, and I am proud to officially say that today it is our pleasure to become the Republican nominee for the governor of Ohio. So thank you guys for getting us to this point. Now, the real destination is in November, but I do want to take a moment to thank the people who got us to where we are, including the folks in this room who have day in and day out worked the phones, who have knocked doors, who have put up signs, who have shown up with us in all of the 88 counties. I want to say thank you to our grassroots volunteers who made this possible. I want to say thank you to our U.S. President, President Trump, for his endorsement in this campaign since day one. I want to thank the current governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, for his endorsement as well. I want to thank our current Senate President, Rob McCulley, for accepting my invitation to be the next lieutenant governor. You're going to do a great job, Rob. And Denise, thank you for, we had some conversations at the very end. I remember around my kitchen table with Rob, and you and he were talking, and there was no decision for Rob without making sure that it was right for the family. So thank you, Denise, as well, for entrusting us with this journey. I believe we have a historic opportunity to lead Ohio, not just to be the best state in the Midwest, because we are already the best in the Midwest. We have a historic opportunity to lead Ohio to be the top state in the country, to raise a young family, to give our kids a world-class education, and to be the state where we revive this quaint idea that we call the American dream. And tonight, that is very personal to me. On any other country on planet Earth, I would not be standing here tonight. My parents came halfway around the world to Cincinnati, Ohio, half a century ago, with nothing to their name. I went to public schools through 8th grade because private schools were not on the table for us. I went to St. X for high school. My dad worked for a 5-figure salary for most of his career at the GE plant right off I-75 in Evendale. My mom worked at the VA, taking care of nursing home patients as well. And now, after having founded, thankfully, successful businesses, in a position to call myself the Republican nominee for governor in the very state where I was born and raised. That is the American dream that makes American exceptionalism possible. I know that American dream exists because I have lived it in this state, because of the opportunities that the state of Ohio gave to me and to my family. And my faith teaches me that we have a moral duty to use those blessings, to use those gifts that we have been given, to leave this state and this country better than we found it. And with your help, when we win this November, that is exactly what we are about to do for our state, not just making Ohio great again, but to make Ohio greater than we have ever been. That's what we're about to do together. So thank you tonight for kicking off the next chapter of this journey. I do believe that this marks, without exception, the single most consequential election for governor that our state has ever seen in our history. There has never been a greater contrast between two candidates. Perhaps the most important contrast between myself and my opponent, Amy Acton, is our vision and our attitude towards success. I believe that success is something that we ought to celebrate as a people, something that we ought to celebrate as a state, our educational success, your family's economic success, your individual success, America's civic success. I believe in celebrating success. And the person I'm running against in this race believes in villainizing success. She will remind you every day that I'm a billionaire, and I will remind you that I was not born a billionaire. I was not born a millionaire. I was not born in anything heir. I was born an heir to nothing, okay? But my story is possible in this great country and in our great state because we embrace free enterprise, because we embrace liberty, because we embrace the idea of exceptionalism and the pursuit of excellence. That is who we are. And Thomas Jefferson famously said, he signed the Declaration of Independence 250 years ago. Shortly after, he said, "The government you elect is the government you deserve." It's almost as though he was talking about 2026, our year right here in this election for governor of Ohio. We can wake up to one of two Ohios later this year. We can wake up to an Ohio where we're bringing down your electric bills because we're producing more energy in Ohio. We can wake up to an Ohio where your property taxes are coming down because it's your land and not the government's. We can wake up to an Ohio where we are on a path to putting our state on our way to a zero income tax state because it is your money, not the government's. And frankly, we can compete with states like Texas and Florida and Tennessee. We can wake up to an Ohio where our children are doing better in math and reading and writing, being taught how to actually perform well in our schools rather than indoctrinated with victimhood psychology. One where housing prices are going down because we're cutting the red tape to build more homes in our state, to make that American dream and home ownership more affordable to the next generation. And we can wake up to an Ohio where we are more united, because it is easier to connect with our fellow neighbors and to be united in a rising economic tide. That is one Ohio where we can wake up to in November, and that is where I will lead this state if you elect me this November. The other, I'll take applause for that. Thank you. That's where we're headed. But there's a different version of how this could go if my opponent comes anywhere near the levers of power. Could be an Ohio where businesses are once again fleeing our state in droves, where you see a $21 billion plus income tax hike coming to you directly in 2027. One where our property taxes continue to go up. One where our public schools remain beholden to the bureaucracy that is choking the success of our students, and one where we celebrate victimhood instead of success. That's what the other Ohio looks like. I'm proudly the most pro-free enterprise, pro-liberty, conservative, and pro-capitalist governor this state will have ever seen, running against, unfortunately, what would be the first socialist governor than we have ever seen. And I want to say a word about the contrast here, because this is really important. The traditional Republican criticism of Amy Acton, and I'm sympathetic to this, is that she advanced and advocated for the lockdowns, which have not aged well, lockdowns of our public schools, where kids in Cincinnati public schools were shut out of their schools for 2 years, while my alma mater of St. X was closed for 5 days. Those kids in those public schools will never get those 2 years of their education back. That's unforgivable. One where businesses were shuttered, and we actually chased businesses and entrepreneurs to states like Florida or Texas, where they could thrive rather than in Ohio. That's the traditional Republican critique of Amy Acton, and I agree with it, because those were poor policy choices for her to advance and to advocate for. But I think the deeper criticism, and I think it's really important to understand, is it's not going to be a pandemic the next time around. It's going to be different, tough decisions that we need to make as a state. We don't know what those are going to be. It's part of electing a leader is you're not electing just a slate of policies. You're electing somebody who we believe as a people is actually fit to lead our state. And what disappoints me about Amy Acton, somebody who I will tell you, I was rooting for her success as an Ohioan and as an American. She was a Democrat, but Rob, you said it the day you accepted this nomination to be lieutenant governor, that you voted for her confirmation. You were rooting for her success. I was rooting for her success. I think I speak for everyone in this room. We were all rooting for the success of anyone who leads our state in a tough time. But what disappoints me is somebody who could not draw the distinction between older Ohioans who might have been at risk of death from COVID-19 versus younger second and third and fourth grade students who were not at risk of death from COVID-19, but who were shut out and are at risk of depression, anxiety, and learning loss as a consequence of those decisions. Someone who had no patience to distinguish between actually those who were naturally immune, who had been exposed to the virus and could be let back out from lockdowns versus somebody who had not. And the gall, the temerity to wear a white coat and signify to the public for hours on end that you were a scientific authority without actually drawing those basic distinctions that were actually guided by science reflects an utter laziness and abandonment of responsibility that our public deserves in our leaders. And when Rob and the other legislators told her that we had to take a more nuanced, science-driven approach, you want to know what she did? She quit. To me, that is the most damning indictment of somebody who wants to lead this state. I will never quit on Ohio. We will always do the work required to make the best decisions required to deliver you lower costs, bigger paychecks, better schools, to deliver you a revival of that American dream that I know exists, that American dream that I have lived in this state, that we want for your kids and for your families. We will stop at nothing to do the work, to make the hard decisions, not to run away from them, not to chase the front of a camera with a white coat, but to actually do the work, to understand how we're going to rebuild infrastructure to take Ohio to new heights, how we're going to wring out the waste, fraud, and abuse out of an abused Medicaid system, to put that money back in your pockets where it belongs, and to bring down health insurance premiums while we're at it, to make life more affordable in this state. So when our kids graduate, if you work hard and you play by the rules, you get to have a good life and then dream for an even better life for your kids, that you're free to speak your mind at every step of the way. That is my pledge to every person in this state who voted for me today and who will vote for us in November. Our pledge to you is that we will deliver you lower costs, bigger paychecks, and better schools. And my pledge to every person who does not vote for us this November is also lower costs, bigger paychecks, and better schools. And we will protect your right to complain about it at every step of the way. But what I will tell you is that I believe we're on the cusp of a new dawn for Ohio, one where we reconnect with our roots of ambition, the state that raised Neil Armstrong and John Glenn and the Wright brothers and Thomas Edison, the state that led the first industrial revolution, The state where Toledo led the world in glass production. The state where Akron led in rubber production. The state where Youngstown and Cleveland led in steel production. The state where Dayton led in computing. The state where my hometown of Cincinnati was known around the world as the Queen City will once again be at the forefront of our country, the bleeding edge of our country from the center of our country. A state that patriots across this country actually flock to and flock back to, including so many of our kids and grandkids whom I have thought they were finding refuge in other states coming back to, not because we forced them to, but because this is the state in the United States, and dare I say, this is the state on planet Earth where the best opportunities are actually available to them. That is why I'm running to be your next governor. It is not for fame. It is not for fortune. Our family has been blessed beyond our wildest imagination, beyond what my parents or Apurva's parents could have imagined just a few decades ago. But I am in this, and I speak for Rob and myself here. We are in this because we believe that together, with the complementary skills that we bring to the table, we are the two people in this state who can work together as a team to lead Ohio back to our true potential, to our greatest heights, to put more money in your pocket, to bring down those costs, and to give our kids the world-class education that is the birthright of every Ohioan. And so we are asking you tonight, on the night that we have secured our primary victory. Thank you for everybody who got us through this finish line with a historic margin. The final numbers are coming in. We're going to see them tomorrow morning, but I think what they will show you is that the Republican Party coming out of a primary for governor has never been more united than we are tonight. With that energy behind us, we now go to the next destination, the election in November, where we're going to ask every one of you to do your part, to show up. It might be a rainy night or by then a snowy night. Might be a night where, things are unplanned, things happen. You never know. We're going to ask you to do your part and still show up. Not just once. Not just to vote once, but what I say is the equivalent of voting 10 times. That means you bring 9 other people out with you who otherwise would not have shown up to vote in an election. And don't just make it another Republican. Talk to your neighbors and your friends, and we do have friends. If we were Republicans, we have plenty of friends who are not yet Republicans, okay, who may vote with us this November, who are independents, libertarians, orphaned Reagan Democrats, or politically homeless for that matter. I don't care what you call yourself. If you care about giving your kids and your family the same shot at the American dream that this state and this country gave to me and to my family, if you care about giving our kids that world-class education, then honest to God, we will work with you to lead our state to greater heights than we have ever seen. Because we are not a state in decline. We are not a region in decline. We are not a nation in decline. We are a state and a nation still in our ascent. And by the time we're done, maybe even by the end of next year, it will be Ohio that sets the national standard that Texas and Tennessee and Florida look up to rather than the other way around. Once we work together and deliver it this November, we're going to enter an age that makes Ohio the state that the other 49 states actually aspire to. We ask for your help. You all do your part. I promise you, Rob and his family, my family and I, we will do ours to make sure that Ohio's best days and America's best days are actually still ahead of us. Thank you for coming out today, guys. God bless you and your families, and let's win this thing in November. Thank you.
The whole world knows my name, 'cause I was